Since the Belt and Road Initiative kicked off in 2013, China has mainly focused its investments on energy, raw materials, and infrastructure. Back when the initiative started, the biggest chunk of money went into energy projects, more than any other sector. This included things like setting up power stations across various countries. Metals and mining were also high on the investment list, and not to forget real estate, which has been booming in China for the last decade or more. Over the past 10 years, this trend hasn't changed much. Energy projects still get a lot of attention. The reason behind this is pretty straightforward. By building infrastructure like power stations, China is not only helping to develop other countries, but also setting up sources of steady income for the future. Once these power stations are operational, they start generating money by selling electricity. This setup ensures that these investments pay off over time, bringing in continuous profits from the energy sold. This strategy reflects China's long-term approach to investing and benefiting from these essential sectors despite various global economic changes. The breakdown of investment shows that since 2018, metals and mining have taken center stage in China's investment strategy. The main reason is that China is eager to secure a steady supply of raw materials. By investing in metal and mining operations abroad, China can extract these essential resources and ship them back home. Another significant area of growth noticed since 2018 is transport. Transport infrastructure is crucial for any country, and it's also a profitable sector. By investing in transportation projects like roads, railways, and ports, China can create sources of ongoing revenue. These projects, once operational, generate income because they provide services that people and businesses pay for. By 2023, an interesting shift happened where technology emerged as the fastest-growing investment area. China is now pouring money into technology firms abroad. By investing in international tech companies, China gains access to cutting-edge technology and intellectual property, ensuring it remains a leader in the global tech area. Another way the Chinese economy benefits from the Belt and Road Initiative is through construction. Essentially, when China invests in building projects in other countries, it stipulates in the contracts that Chinese companies must handle the construction. This means that these companies are awarded the contracts and they send tens of thousands of Chinese workers to these countries to complete the projects. These workers are paid to build everything from roads to buildings, ensuring that the money China invests overseas doesn't just stay abroad. For example, if China signs off on a billion-dollar construction project and then awards a Chinese company a contract of the same value, the money essentially makes a round trip. The Chinese company sets up operations in the foreign country, hires additional Chinese firms, and the entire $1 billion eventually flows back into the Chinese economy. Over the last 10 years, there's been a notable pattern in how China spends money on building projects overseas, particularly in the sectors of energy and transportation. While the investment in metals and mining hasn't seen much growth, it's because this area isn't China's strongest suit. Similarly, investments in the technology sector haven't led to a surge in construction activities either, since these investments tend to focus more on acquiring intellectual property and tech innovations rather than on physical building efforts. What might surprise many is the scale of Chinese investments in developed countries, including Russia, which have reached around $1.5 trillion. The common perception of China's Belt and Road Initiative is that it primarily targets less developed nations to help build their infrastructure. However, the reality is quite different. China's investment strategy is far more broad-ranging and pragmatic. It looks for opportunities not just to aid in development, but to secure profitable deals that can bring good returns and benefit China's own economy through construction contracts. By insisting that Chinese companies and workers are used in these overseas projects, China ensures that a significant portion of the money it invests abroad eventually flows back into its own economy. Whether it's building power plants in Africa or developing transport networks in Eastern Europe, China is keenly focused on creating a cycle of investment and return that supports its broader economic ambitions. China has significantly expanded its global influence through the Belt and Road Initiative, focusing on investing in various countries to strengthen economic ties and secure strategic interests. At the top of the list of beneficiaries in Russia, which has received an impressive $300 billion in investments from China. These funds have been directed toward over 100 projects. Following Russia, Qatar emerges as the second-largest recipient of Chinese investments, drawing nearly $250 billion. The investments primarily focus on developing Qatar's oil facilities, aligning with China's objectives to enhance its energy security and ensure steady oil supplies. Malaysia ranks third, receiving around $150 billion for 50 projects. Egypt stands fourth, having attracted around $100 billion, spread across approximately 200 projects. The variety and scale of projects in Egypt are indicative of China's aim to improve infrastructure and industrial capacity in a key location that serves as a bridge between Africa and the Middle East. Turkey is close behind, with $100 billion invested in around 30 projects. Turkey's strategic position as a junction between Europe and Asia make it a significant target for China's infrastructure ambitions, facilitating easier access and stronger trade links across two continents. India finds itself sixth on the list, with roughly $75 billion invested in 100 projects. Despite occasional political frictions, the economic engagements through these projects indicate a complex interdependence where infrastructure developments are crucial for both nations. Pakistan ranks seventh with an investment profile similar to that of India, showcasing substantial Chinese financial involvement in the region. Saudi Arabia, known for its vast oil reserves, holds the eighth spot, having received $75 billion from China. This investment has been distributed across more than 100 projects as China's strategy to secure oil resources and strengthen economic ties in the Middle East. The United Arab Emirates, another oil-rich nation, stands ninth with approximately $60 billion invested in about 40 projects. These investments further China's interests in securing energy resources and enhancing its strategic footprint in the Gulf region, an area critical for global energy markets. Rounding out the top 10, Nigeria, also known for its oil wealth, has received significant attention from Russia, placing it 10th on the list. The investments here, like in other oil-rich nations, are aimed at developing infrastructure that supports the extraction and processing of oil. China is strategically focusing its investments in regions of Russia that are geographically closer to its own borders. This approach is not just about expanding its influence, but ensuring that these investments directly benefit the Chinese economy. For instance, if a project involves building a power station, China is particularly interested if some of the generated power can be transferred back to meet its own energy needs. This creates a direct, tangible benefit from its investments. Similarly, when it comes to projects relating to extracting raw materials, China prioritizes those that allow easy export back to its territory. This focus on geographically proximate investments is a practical move by China to maximize returns and minimize risks associated with its overseas ventures. It ensures that the funds it injects into foreign economies, particularly in Russia, are both an expenditure and a lucrative investment that can yield immediate and long-term advantages for its own economic landscape. Since 2014, China has been actively investing in Russia, initiating various projects each year. The investments were split between collaborative projects through intergovernmental commissions and direct investments from China. Starting in 2014, there were 12 deals, including a mix of 9 joint projects and 3 direct initiatives. The following year, 2015, saw an increase with 16 deals. This time, direct Chinese investments outpaced cooperative ones with 9 direct deals versus 7 cooperative ones. In 2016, the investment continued with 11 deals, 8 being joint venture deals and 3 direct investments. By 2017, the number of deals increased to 14, but with a heavier lean toward cooperative deals. 12 were cooperation and only 2 were direct investments. The trend of fewer direct investments continued into 2018 and 2019. In 2018, there were 7 deals, 5 cooperative and 2 direct. In 2019, the number rose again with 14 deals, but 11 were cooperative, mirroring the trend of favoring joint ventures, and only 3 were direct investments. However, from 2020 onwards, there was a noticeable decline in the number of deals. Only 3 deals were recorded in 2020, comprising 2 cooperative and 1 direct investment. In 2021, which was marked by the global pandemic and escalated geopolitical tensions, the number slightly increased to 4 deals, 3 cooperative and 1 direct. The decline became sharp in 2022, a year with no deals announced, coinciding with the onset of the conflict in Ukraine. As of 2023, the trend of scant activity continues with only 1 cooperative deal reported, suggesting a significant shift in China's investment approach. This marked reduction in new investments, especially the near disappearance of direct deals from China, points to a strategic recalibration or heightened caution in China's investment activities in Russia, influenced by the changing global and regional dynamics. But China seems to be pulling back from its investments in Russia, especially in energy infrastructure, despite continuing similar investments globally. There are several reasons for this shift. Firstly, investing in such financially strained countries allows China to often maintain a controlling stake in the projects it funds, like power stations, airports, or railways. These infrastructures are designed to serve their immediate purpose while also generating revenue. This revenue helps the host country pay off the debt incurred from the Chinese investment, which is structured as a loan that needs to be repaid. If these projects turn profitable, China stands to gain from the projects for the duration of the project's life, making it a long-term income source. Another significant aspect of China's strategy involves ensuring that Chinese companies and labor are used in the construction of these projects. This stipulation means that even though the investment money initially goes out of China, a large portion of it returns as these Chinese companies are paid for construction. This model creates a beneficial cycle for China. The money invested overseas eventually flows back into the Chinese economy, supporting jobs and generating profits for Chinese businesses. Thus, while the investment appears to go into building infrastructure abroad, it simultaneously supports China's own economic growth. However, the recent pullback from Russia could be influenced by different geopolitical or economic factors that make continued investment there less attractive or feasible compared to other regions. This shift indicates a strategic reassessment, possibly considering the current global political climate or specific challenges associated with Russian projects that don't align as effectively with the Belt and Road Initiative's goal as investments in other countries do. China's investment strategy also considers worst-case scenarios, like what happens if a country can't keep up with its debt repayments. In such cases, China has the option to take control of the assets involved. A notable example is the situation in Sri Lanka, where after the country struggled to make debt payments, China took a 99-year lease on Hambantota port. While the port continues to operate, it now primarily benefits China. There are even concerns that China might use this port as a military outpost, potentially deploying warships and planes to develop into a military base. This strategic control is something China values, but the recent developments in Russia have raised some red flags. Historically, Western companies like ExxonMobil, Shell, and BP have entered Russia, helped develop its oil and gas infrastructure, and profited from these ventures. However, since the invasion of Ukraine, Russia has severed these ties, taking over assets from these Western companies and ending any profit-sharing agreement. This drastic action has likely alarmed Chinese investors. Seeing how abruptly these Western investments turned sour, China fears its investments might face a similar fate if political or military conflicts with Russia emerge. This concern is particularly acute given the potential for Russia to pass laws that could nationalize foreign investments, leaving China's companies without any returns or control over the projects they funded. Given these risks, China is understandably cautious about continuing to pour money into Russian projects. The fear that their investments could vanish or be taken over by Russian authorities under new regulations makes further financial engagements with Russia a risky move. China faces unique challenges with its investments in Russia, particularly regarding asset control. Unlike other countries where China might seize assets if debts aren't paid, in Russia under President Putin, it's highly unlikely that Chinese companies will be allowed to take control of key infrastructure. This makes Russia a less attractive investment option for China, which typically seeks a certain level of security in its international investments. The situation is also complicated by international sanctions targeting Russia's energy sector. Chinese companies involved with these Russian firms risk facing secondary sanctions, which could severely restrict their global trade. Given that over 95% of their business is with the rest of the world, the potential costs of continuing investment in Russia are too high. Thanks for sticking around till the end of today's video. We hope you found it insightful. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Economy Obsession for more details on Russia's economic crises.